Ladies and gentlemen, back to the channel. Today we've got another UFC preview and predictions. The main event this weekend for UFC 265 in Houston, Texas is Derrick Lewis and Ciryl Gane for the Interim Heavyweight Championship. Now, why this Interim Heavyweight Championship, I don't know, but the fight is a good fight, so I am excited for it this Saturday night. Also, the co-main event, Pedro Munoz and Jose Aldo Jr. It is a very good 13-fight card in the Toyota Center. And folks, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more UFC here on the channel. So we will start off here in the bantamweight division. It is between Munoz Jr. and Jamie Simmons. We will start first with Jamie Simmons. His last fight in the UFC was a loss to Chiesa. He got head kicked in the face in the first round over in November. I mean, they put him against Chiesa. I believe it was a short notice fight for Simmons. Of course, Chiesa now is going to be fighting Edson Barbosa in the main event of a fight night, so it could have been worse for your UFC debut, but Simmons loses that. Before that, picks up a win by rear naked choke in the second round. Before that, picks up a knockout in a minute, and then a knockout in 36 seconds before that. And then before that, he did lose in about 16 seconds over an LFA. He got kneed right in the face 13 seconds into that one, and then his other loss was back in 2018, got guillotined by Donnie Simpson, a fighter making his professional debut back then in August of 2018. Again, Simmons didn't look good in his last fight, but what do you expect? They put him in there with Chiesa, and that was kind of the knock on Chiesa at that point in time was, well, okay, he's fighting guys like Jamie Simmons, who's making his UFC debut, and yeah, it's a fight Chiesa is supposed to win, but of course, I mean, Chiesa goes on to beat Cub Swanson. I'm not doubting that guy anymore, so Simmons comes in, loses that fight, though. Pretty good striker in Jamie Simmons. You've seen that in the past. A lot of quick knockouts. If he's going to win a fight, he's going to win it really early on. I mean, he got the 36-second win in 2019 alongside about a 64-second win as well in Pure FC. The levels of competition that Simmons fought before entering the UFC, let's be honest, not great, but he does come into this fight with a record of 7 wins and 3 losses, trying to keep this one on the feet against his opponent in Munoz Jr. And Munoz is the former King of the Cage champion. He won that all the way back in 2019, 2 fights before he made his UFC debut. Let's be real, wasn't fighting the best competition as well. You got 4-1, 5-3, 4-3, 7-11, 3-2, 2-4, 10-10, 2-2. Just not the best guys, but what did Munoz show outside the UFC? He's able to get the submission. He's able to get it early. You see that when he won the King of the Cage championship. He did win that one by decision, but other than that, you got the win over Ian King, his last fight before heading on to the UFC. It's a submission in the second round. You got a second round submission as well in 2018. You got a 38-second knockout. You got a heel hook 2 minutes into the first round and back in 2018. Munoz is very good on the ground and knows how to get a fight to the ground pretty quickly, and he can finish it as well once he gets down there. Now, his one UFC fight was Nate Maness, and Nate Maness is a pretty damn good fighter as well. It just wasn't Munoz's night against Maness on the Edmund Shabazzian versus Derek Brunson card in August of last year. Just didn't go his way. He was supposed to fight Mark Striegel on UFC 261. That fight didn't end up happening, and then he was supposed to fight Simmons on 261 as well. But of course, Simmons got injured, and now here we are at UFC 265. I think Munoz Jr. should be able to beat Jamie Simmons. He probably will. If he can get this one to the ground, I think he has the clear grappling advantage over Simmons. Of course, Simmons outside the UFC, we've seen him get finished as well. The Chiesa loss, again, that's what you expect out of Jamie Simmons fighting Chiesa, but I think Munoz all around is the better fighter on the ground. I think he's got the clear grappling advantage. Unless Simmons can land a bomb about like 30 seconds into the fight like we've seen him do in the regional circuit, I don't think he's going to beat Munoz. I've got Munoz by submission. I think he gets it done in the second round. Now we've got Victoria Leonardo and Melissa Gatto. Going to start first here with Melissa Gatto. She has not fought, get this, in 3 years. And her last one was Karol Rosa, which is a good win. I mean, you think about it now, Karol Rosa on a pretty big winning streak. She just beat Jocelyn Edwards in her last fight. So it was a good win for Gatto. If you go back, you watch that fight. She gets taken down twice in that fight by Karol Rosa, but eventually, I think it's about like 3 minutes, or I think it's 4 minutes into that first round. She locks the Kimura in from the bottom. It looks like an armbar at first, but it's really a Kimura. She sinks it in, and she gets it. Yeah, I mean, she does get taken down twice in that first round against Karol Rosa, but eventually just finishes that Kimura and puts away Karol Rosa. So after that, she goes on, she signs with the UFC. She's supposed to fight Talita Bernardo. Fight doesn't happen because Gatto has to pull out due to an injury, so that didn't happen at UFC 237. Then they book her against Julia Avila on the Jones Santos card in the summer of 2019. Fight does not happen as well. Gatto gets injured again, and then they book her against Maria Agapova. Fight did not happen last year because Gatto couldn't get to the US. So, not good. She's had to pull out 3 fights so far in the UFC, and then you're going to take on Victoria Leonardo, who, let's be honest, is not really a high caliber UFC fighter. She's a okay fighter, but you're not fighting a top 15 fighter in the 125-pound division. Gatto's got 6 wins, 0 losses, and 2 draws. She's coming in the UFC over that win. That big win over Rosa does stand out, don't get me wrong. Before that, she's got a draw to City Rocha. Not completely sure who that fighter is, but she's got a draw to her, and before that beats Joyce De Andrade, a fighter who doesn't even have a Tapology page. Not good, and then beats a couple other fighters you've never heard of, and then also has another draw back in 2017. Yeah, it's kind of concerning. Gatto has not fought in 3 years. Last fight was in September of 2018. So, not ideal. We know Gatto's got a very good ground game. I mean, just that fight against Rosa showed how good her ground game is. Now, she did get taken down twice in that first round, but the way she locked in that Kimura from the bottom was very nice, and she put away Rosa pretty damn quickly. So, obviously, Gatto's looking to try to take this fight down. Against Victoria Leonardo, and yeah, Leonardo's last fight was not good. It was the fight against Menifield, and yeah, that's what you expect. Menifield is on the fast track to the top of this division. Leonardo gets knocked out pretty quickly in that fight. It was the second round, but Leonardo just really dominated that fight. Leonardo got her contract against Chelsea Hackett, and watching the Contender Series in November of last year, I get why Chelsea Hackett was there. I believe she's from New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. She's from Australia. She's only 21 years old. She was undefeated. Very good kickboxer is Chelsea Hackett, and she just couldn't wrestle. Leonardo takes her down, and Hackett had no response to it. TKO finish in the second round. That's how Leonardo gets the contract in the UFC. She's fought in Invicta before losing to Erin Blanchfield. She got head kicked in the second round. Also, she lost to Miranda Maverick, who again should have beat Macy Barber. Don't know what the judges were watching. And yeah, Leonardo, current record of 8 wins and 3 losses. Did not look good in her last fight against Menifield. How is she going to try to win this fight? She's probably going to try to take Melissa Gatto down, but the problem is Gatto's so good off her back, where I think Leonardo will be capable of taking Gatto down. You saw Rosa do it. I think Leonardo can probably do it as well, but do you really want to be on top of Melissa Gatto? Probably not, considering how good her jiu-jitsu is. So it's just a very hard fight to pick if you are backing Victoria Leonardo. I really don't see the path to victory for her. Maybe she's got, I think she's got maybe a better stand-up game than Gatto. It's just tough because we haven't seen Gatto in 3 years as well. This is just, I don't know, man. It's a tough fight to call. Personally, though, give me Melissa Gatto. Now, I'm picking her because of her jiu-jitsu. It's that simple. If this fight's a stand-up fight, I have nothing to tell you. I'll be honest with you, because we haven't seen Gatto in 3 years. There's really only like one fight that you can watch on hers online. Leonardo comes in, she loses to Firo. She beats Chelsea Hackett, who's only 21 years old and really not ready for the UFC yet. This fight could go either way. I think Gatto is going to be able to get the job done, though. Even though she has not fought in 3 years, I think Gatto uses her jiu-jitsu, and I think that's how she beats Leonardo. I think she submits her really in the first round. Not that confident, but I think Gatto gets the job done. Now we've got Miles Johnson, Anderson Dos Santos. I already talked about that fight on the Islam Makhachev and Thiago Moises card just last month, so we're just going to roll that. Prediction stays exactly the same. Now we've got a matchup here between Anderson Dos Santos and Miles Johnson. We'll start first here with Miles Johnson. So his last fight, he did beat Kevin Natividad by KO in the third round of their fight. Caught him with a really nice uppercut in the third round to get his second UFC victory. Before that, he did lose to Mario Bautista. He lost by TKO in the second round of their fight, and then before that, he beat Cole Smith by split decision, and then before that, beat Richie Santiago by unanimous decision on the Contender Series, and also picked up a really big win over an LFA main event against Adrian Yanez for the Bantamweight Championship over there in LFA. Yanez, tremendous fighter as well, and it was a really big win for Miles Johnson, considering how, the momentum Adrian Yanez has got going on in the UFC as well. He's got a really fun fight against Randy Costa later on in the year, or actually, I do believe next week on the Santana and Dillashaw card, so we'll get to that one when that fight does come up, but Miles Johnson, with the exception of the Bautista losses, looked very good in the UFC. The Natividad fight was fighting a very good fight in that one, and eventually got him with that KO in the third round. Johnson coming into this fight with a record of 11 wins and 1 losses. Of course, that one loss being the Bautista fight, but of course, he is the former LFA Bantamweight champion as well. And of course, we know Anderson Dos Santos, a very good grappler, very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. So for Miles Johnson to win this fight, he's most likely going to have to keep this one on the feet, where, of course, as you see in the Natividad fight, fought a very good fight while standing. So that's Miles Johnson. Let's talk about his opponent now, in Anderson Dos Santos. So Anderson Dos Santos really needed to win his last fight, and he did win. He beat Martin Day. He beat him by submission. He got him with the guillotine in the first round in that fight, and then before that, he lost to Andre Ewell, lost to Nad Nirmani. So he really needed to win. In that fight his day, he got the job done, and now he gets his 4th fight in 4 years with the UFC, and it's against, again, a good fighter in Miles Johnson. But what has Anderson Dos Santos done in the past We've seen him get submission wins. We've seen him get knocked out a lot. I mean, he got knocked out a couple times in Jungle Fight, got knocked out in Titan FC, got knocked out in various regional promotions, King of the Cage as well. So Miles Johns is going to test that chin of Anderson dos Santos. He is going to. I mean, not often you see a guy with 8 losses making his 4th fight in the UFC in Dos Santos with only 21 wins, 8 losses. But Dos Santos, how does he win this fight? Obviously, it's going to be through the ground game. He's got to try to take Miles Johns down on this one. He's going to try to submit him, which is going to be tough to do because Miles Johns is a very good defensive grappler, I would say. But Dos Santos, again, coming to this fight with a record of 21 wins and 8 losses. It's a tough fight for Dos Santos because I just don't think he's going to be able to contend at all on the feet against Johns. It's not like Miles Johns is some elite level striker. He's not, but compared to Anderson dos Santos, who's been knocked out multiple times before even making that first walk in the UFC, it is just tough to pick Dos Santos. And yes, he has been submitted a couple times as well against Eduardo Souza and against Said Nurmagomedov. But of course, Said Nurmagomedov, very talented UFC fighter as well. But it just makes it tough to pick Anderson dos Santos, so really that's why I'm going to be taking Miles Johns. Yeah, like really everything I said earlier, I don't really like the chin of Anderson dos Santos at all. I think Miles Johns is going to be able to test that chin. I think he's going to get to Dos Santos in this one. I think he's going to really push the pace in this one. And yeah, that's why we're going to go with Miles Johns to get the job done. I think he's going to get another knockout finish, so we're going to go with the Miles Johns 2nd round TKO win over Anderson dos Santos. Really fun fight now at 125 pounds. It is the former Ryzen champion in Manel Kape, and he's taking on the Picasso of MMA in Ode Osbourne. I am pumped for this one because Manel Kape needs to win this fight, and Ode Osbourne just picked up a really nice knockout of Jerome Rivera in just 26 seconds. I am excited for this fight. We will start first with the Picasso of MMA, also the Jamaican sensation in Ode Osbourne. Yes, he was the guy that Conor McGregor fought on his card. If you get that joke, if you know, you know, I guess. But Ode Osbourne's last fight was a good winner for Jerome Rivera. Now, he knocks out Rivera with a really nice left about 26 seconds into that first round. Problem, the fight was at 145 pounds. Okay, so before that, Osbourne fights about a year before that against Brian Kelleher. He loses. He's on the main card of Conor and Cowboy. Osbourne loses to Kelleher. He gets submitted, but with a guillotine. Don't let that distract you from the fact that Ode Osbourne's got a very good ground game. He's still in the Contender Series. Really nice armbar finish in the first round. He's got a lot of submissions in his arsenal. Really nice triangle choke as well. And he's also got a lot of power on the feet. The Jerome Rivera fight was the biggest example of that. Now, was that more that Rivera took a lot of damage in the Francisco Figueiredo fight? He took that fight just a month after losing to Figueiredo? Or was it that Ode Osbourne's really got a lot of power? I don't know, because Rivera is now 0-4 in the UFC, now out the promotion, but it was a very good showing for Ode Osbourne, and you always know that he's got a very good grappling arsenal as well. Current record for Osbourne of 9 wins and 3 losses, 1-1 in the UFC, and against Manel Kape, man, there are definitely pathways to victory for Osbourne in this fight. It's going to be an uphill battle, obviously, because Kape is a very well fighter, very good fighter, former Ryzen champion, but there are opportunities for Osbourne to win this fight. I would say definitely on the ground. I know Kape does have a good ground game, but the way Ode Osbourne's able to finish fights on the mat, very damn impressive. So that is the Picasso of MMA and Ode Osbourne. Let's talk about his opponent now in Manel Kape. Okay, so Manel Kape's UFC run, it hasn't been good. Like, he comes in, he fights Pantoja. Okay, he loses. He loses 2 rounds to 1. He didn't do anything in that fight. He finally kind of turned it up in the 3rd round. But the 1st and 2nd rounds in that fight for Manel Kape, he did not do a damn thing. Didn't really throw a punch. Just kind of let Pantoja pick his shot from the outside. It wasn't great. So he comes back, takes a short notice fight against Mateus Nicolau. Now, he beats Mateus Nicolau. On his record will say he lost that fight. But go watch that one and tell me that Manel Kape did not win that fight. I don't see any chance, any way that Nicolau won that one. So Kape should really be 1-1 in the UFC. The Nicolau fight makes no sense to me, but Manel Kape still got there more volume. Like, did he throw a lot against Nicolau? Yeah, but there still could have been more, and that really still wasn't the Manel Kape that we saw back in Ryzen, the guy who was beating Mizugaki, and the guy who was beating Kayaskura, and the guy who was beating Ian McCall, right? So Manel Kape still, there's a lot to show in the UFC for him. And now they're giving the guy an Ode Osbourne, who, yes, Osbourne will probably try to take him down at some point in this fight, but Osbourne's going to be willing to strike with him as well. And Osbourne is going to bring it to Manel Kape. If Kape does not throw volume at Ode Osbourne, Osbourne is going to come after him. So it could be a tough fight for Manel Kape, but it's a fight that does favor him on the feet, obviously. And on the ground, I would give a slight advantage to Ode Osbourne, but still, Kape does have a pretty solid ground game as well. You did see him pick up a couple submission wins over in Ryzen. Manel Kape should win this fight. He should beat Ode Osbourne. Like, keyword, he should. If Manel Kape throws more volume, and if he, again, the Pantoja fight really is almost zero volume. The Nicolau fight, he was getting there, and I think if his third fight in the UFC, I think he'll beat Ode Osbourne. I think he's going to eventually ramp up the volume. I think he's going to land on Ode Osbourne. I think he's going to keep this fight standing. I think Manel Kape's really going to show why he was considered to be the backup for the Brandon Moreno-Deiveson Figueiredo championship fight in December of last year. I mean, yeah, Manel Kape was a backup to a title fight when he signed with the promotion. That's how high they thought of him, and I think he's really going to show that potential on Saturday night. I think he's going to get to Ode Osbourne. I think he's going to land on Ode Osbourne. Don't get me wrong, I think highly of Osbourne as well. I think this is going to be a banger of a fight for as long as it does last, but I think Kape's going to land on him first, and I think Manel Kape picks up a TKO win in the second round. I think finally etching his name into the UFC record books with a win. Now we have got Karolina Kowalkiewicz making her return against Jessica Penne. Yeah, two former title challengers, believe it or not. I mean, Karolina obviously fought Joanna at UFC 205. Jessica Penne was Joanna's first ever title defense. I believe that was in Germany. Yeah, she lost that one by TKO. We're gonna start first with Jessica Penne. So she takes 4 years off. She comes back. She beats Lupita Godinez in a fight where did she really win? I think she probably did. Whitaker Gaslam, she gets the job done by split decision. Before that, she goes on a 3-fight losing streak to Joanna Jędrzejczyk for the title. Jessica Andrade, she gets TKO'd in that one, and then loses to Daniel Taylor as well. It comes in the UFC off the Ultimate Fighter show, wins her first two fights on the season, then loses to Carlos Barza, and then beats Randa Marcos on the Ultimate Fighter finale show in a #1 contenders fight. Believe it or not, Randa Marcos versus Jessica Penne was a #1 contenders fight. In the UFC, Jessica Penne, good ground game, record of 13 wins and 5 losses. If she's going to beat Karolina, that's how she's going to do it. We've seen fighters such as Michelle Waterson and Yao Zheng just basically dictate where the fight is going with Karolina, be it on the feet or on the ground, and dominate in either setting. So that's what Jessica Penne's got to do. I think if she stands with Karolina, I don't think she's going to have a very good chance to win this fight. But if she can get this one to the mat, really use her jiu-jitsu like she kind of did against Lupita Godinez, then she'll have a good shot to beat Karolina. But yeah, that's Jessica Penne coming into this fight with a record of 13 wins and 5 losses. Let's talk about her opponent now in Karolina Kowalkiewicz. So where do I start? I mean, Karolina in the Joanna fight, like, she lost 4 rounds to 1, but let's be real, she fought pretty well against Joanna. She did knock down Joanna in that fight, and it was a closer fight than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. So I mean, after that, or before that fight, Karolina's beating Randa Marcos, she's beating Heather Jo Clark, she's beating Rose Namajunas, so you have that somewhat close fight against Joanna. I know she lost 4 rounds to 1, but still it was somewhat close. You turn around, you fight Claudia Gadelha. You lose that one. Okay, not great. Comes back, beats Jodie Esquivel, and then beats Felice Herrick. So you're on a 2-fight winning streak. You're fighting Jessica Andrade, winner's most likely fighting for the title, and disgusting. I mean, Jessica Andrade with a big right hand putting Karolina down. That was tough to watch. I'm not gonna lie. UFC 228, that was kind of sad. And then she loses to Michelle Waterson. And then she loses to Alexa Grasso. And then she goes to Auckland, loses to Yao Zheng by unanimous decision. And this is where we are now. Again, she's on a 4-fight losing streak, and Jessica Andrade is the former champion. Michelle Waterson is a top 5, top 10 fighter. Alexa Grasso is the top 10 fighter at 125. And Yao Zheng, I mean, she did lose to Carlos Barza in her last fight, but she's still a top 5 fighter who was a fight away from getting a world championship opportunity. So it's not like Karolina's losing to bad fighters. She's not. But she has not looked good in those last 4. It really started from the Andrade fight, if we are being honest. Now, should she beat Jessica Penne? Yeah, she should. Jessica Penne had a razor-thin close fight against Lupita Godinez. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, I still think, has enough to beat Jessica Penne. She should be able to outstrike Penne. She should be able to keep this fight standing too. And this is Karolina's fight to win. She's been off for a year. I think she's going to come back better than ever. Okay, I wouldn't say better than ever, but better than what we saw her in those last 3 fights. I think Karolina will outstrike Jessica Penne. I think she wins a decision here in this one. Getting back on track, I hope she wins this one. The former KSW champion in Karolina Kowalkiewicz gets back on her winning ways, beating Jessica Penne to improve to a record of 13 wins and 6 losses. Ed Herman and Alonzo Menifield is the next fight on this card. Starting first with Alonzo Menifield, of course, this fight is at 205 pounds. Menifield's coming off a Von Flue choke win. Didn't see that one coming against Fabio Cherant, UFC 260. 1 minute into that fight, Cherant holds on to the guillotine, and there you go. Menifield sinks in the Von Flue. He wins the fight, this was so weird considering he's coming off a loss to Ovince St. Preux, where he got knocked out by OSP. and then he beats Chiron with the Von Flue. Yeah, didn't see that one coming at all. Before the OSP fight, he loses to Devin Clark. He knocks out Paul Craig before that, which is a very good win considering where Paul Craig is right now, coming off that big win against Jamal Hill. And then he beats Vinicius Moreira in his first fight. Okay, Vinicius Moreira was not very good in the UFC at all. I believe he went 0-4 if I'm not mistaken. I mean, hey, though, Menifield did TKO him in the first round. And before that, he got into the UFC, obviously, by winning in the Contender Series with an 8-second knockout of Deshaun Boatwright, of course, on the Contender back in 2018. Menifield, even though he did show that he can lock in a Von Flue and win a fight with a Von Flue choke, he's obviously known for his striking, where again, he did get knocked out by OSP, but looked very good in the Vinicius Moreira fight. I mean, who doesn't look good against Vinicius Moreira? And looked very good in the Paul Craig fight as well. Devin Clark fight, just got outstruck in that one, and really just... Devin Clark beat him to all areas in that fight. In the OSP fight, of course, he did get stopped as well. But the Fabio Chiron fight showed that, hey, Menifield can grapple, but obviously he's not going to be out-grappling a guy like Ed Herman. It's just not going to happen. So Menifield in this fight, basically, for me, follow the game plan of Mike Slow Rodriguez. And we'll talk about that Mike Rodriguez fight with Ed Herman in a second. But Menifield, a very good striker, should be able to really outstrike Herman if this fight does stay standing. So let's now move to his opponent in the veteran, in Ed Herman. Okay, so Ed Herman, Mike Slow Rodriguez, where do you want me to start? Ed Herman's losing that fight in the feet. He's just getting beat. Rodriguez is beating him. And, I mean, Rodriguez knees him in the groin. The fight's over. And I forget who the referee is. Was it Tyone? I'm not completely sure who the referee was for that fight. But Herman sells it as a nut shot. It works. He gets the 5 minutes off. And then he comes back. And he subs Mike Slow Rodriguez. Yeah, the referee was Chris Taglioni, so that's typical. But he subs him with the Kimura. So I believe I picked Herman for that fight, so I got it. But yeah, Herman comes back, he wins the fight. And then before that, he beat Hadias Ibrahimov, beats Patrick Cummings before that. He's on a pretty nice 3-fight winning streak. Now, don't get me wrong, he lost to Jan Vellante before that. And CB Dollaway in the year of 2017. So Herman's bouncing back, though, on that 3-fight winning streak. He's looking pretty good. Now, do I think he can strike with Alonzo Menifield? No, I don't think he can. And yes, we've seen Menifield get knocked out by OSP, but OSP's such a better striker than Ed Herman is right now, obviously. So for Herman to beat Alonzo Menifield, he's got to try to take this fight down. He's going to try to use his grappling, like somewhat what he did against Mike Slow Rodriguez, sinking in that Kimura with a minute left in the fight. I'm not saying he's going to steal a victory or anything, but I mean, that's kind of what he did against Slow Rodriguez. But again, Herman against Alonzo Menifield. Obviously, Ed Herman's got the grappling advantage. Menifield's obviously got the striking advantage in this one. It's who do you think can really get to each spot faster? I mean, again, Herman looking for the takedown. I wouldn't say Menifield's the best striker because we have seen him get finished on the feet against Ovince St. Preux. But like I said earlier, St. Preux's a better striker than Ed Herman. I know MMA math doesn't always work like that, but in this case, it does. So for my prediction, though, I'm going to go with Alonzo Menifield. He's the better striker. He's got more power on the feet. If he can keep the fight standing with Ed Herman, he is going to beat Ed Herman. Ed Herman was hurt in his fighting against Mike Rodriguez. Rodriguez was a minute away from beating Ed Herman, and I think Alonzo Menifield, striking-wise, is about at the same level as Mike Slow Rodriguez. I think Herman is going to get finished here in this one. I think Menifield, again, just all around better. Herman's got to look to try to get this one in the mat. I don't think it happens. Alonzo Menifield gets the job done. I think he puts an end to Herman's 3-fight winning streak. I think he finishes him in the 3rd round by TKO. Interesting fight now between Draco Rodriguez and Vince Morales. I don't know why this fight, if I'm being honest, is this high on the card, but it could be pretty solid. We will start first with Vince Morales, looking to bounce back on a 2-fight losing streak. Only 1 win so far in the UFC. It's the win over Ayman Zahabi. Wins that one by unanimous decision over in Ontario, Canada. And again, MMA math does not work this way, but Morales has a win over Ayman Zahabi. And who did Draco Rodriguez lose in his last fight? Oh yeah, he lost to Ayman Zahabi. It was a really nice overhand right, by the way, by Zahabi, putting out Draco Rodriguez. But Morales coming to the UFC. He loses on the Contender, picks up a win in Bellator, so they give him a shot in the UFC against Song Yadong. Okay, loses by unanimous decision, beats Ayman Zahabi, loses to Benito Lopez, and then most recently losing to Chris Gutierrez by TKO on the Woodley and Burns card. Gutierrez just kicked the hell out of Vince Morales' legs in that fight. But Morales, a very good striker. On the ground compared to Draco Rodriguez, going to give the advantage, of course, to Draco Rodriguez. But if Morales can keep this fight standing, we might see something along the lines of potentially what Aman Zahabi did to Draco Rodriguez. That's a big if, though, considering Aman Zahabi landed just almost a perfect shot in that fight against Draco Rodriguez. But Morales coming into this fight with a record of 9 wins and 5 losses. The losses recently, of course, being to Chris Gutierrez, Benito Lopez, Song Yadong, and then to Domingo Pilarte over on the Contender as well. Let's talk about his opponent now, though, in Draco Rodriguez. Okay, Rodriguez didn't look good in the Aman Zahabi fight. I mean, hey, I'll pat myself on the back. I picked Aman Zahabi to beat him. Look what happened. But before that for Rodriguez, he picks up a triangle choke win over Mana Martinez on the Contender Series in late 2020. Before that, picks up a win over in King of the Cage late in 2019. Before that, beats Shane Moffat in King of the Cage as well. Rodriguez obviously is going to try to get this one on the mat against Morales. Morales a pretty solid striker. Say what you want about him. In the Gutierrez fight, didn't really check a leg kick, but still, Rodriguez is going to try to get this one on the mat. Obviously, since the results of his last fight weren't great against Zahabi. Of course, Zahabi knocked him out 3 minutes into that one. I think he's going to be trying taking this one to the ground against Morales. And yes, we have seen Morales get submitted before. Domingo Pilarte is the one that does stand out. And also did get submitted all the way back in 2015 in Boise, Idaho against Josh Wick on FSF Front Street Fights 6 in September of 2015. Obviously, that fight doesn't mean anything, but the recency in the Domingo Pilarte fight does show that, hey, Draco Rodriguez does have the pathway to victory on the ground. I think that's got to be how he's going to try to beat Morales. Rodriguez coming to this fight with a record of 7 wins and 2 losses. You got to ask yourself this question, though. Do you think Rodriguez can really get this one on the ground before Morales stuffs a couple and, again, just starts working on him on the feet? I don't know. And for an underdog here, yeah, give me Vince Morales. I think he's going to win this fight. I think he keeps the fight standing. I think he outstrikes Draco Rodriguez. I don't think he sees this one hitting the mat. And it's that simple. If Rodriguez can get the takedown and keep this fight on the ground, okay, yeah, Draco Rodriguez is probably going to beat Vince Morales. But on the feet, I really do like Vince Morales. I think Morales is going to win this fight. I think he outstrikes Draco Rodriguez. Do I think he gets a finish? Maybe. I've been picking a lot of finishes on this card. I'm going to pick yet another. Give me Vince Morales. Second round TKO. He puts away Draco Rodriguez. Straight up banger. I don't know why this isn't on the main card, but here you go. It is on free television. Bobby Green, Rafael Fiziev. Oh my goodness. Striking war. I mean, we'll start with Bobby Green. Let's be honest. He beat Thiago Moises. Like, watch that fight and tell me Bobby Green did not beat Thiago Moises. He should be on a 4-fight winning streak right now, looking to break into the top 15 alongside Fiziev. This should be really a battle of the winner of this fight is going to get a top 10 fighter. Because Bobby Green is that good. Again, I thought he beat Moises. Now, they probably would have, hopefully they wouldn't have fed Bobby Green Islam Makhachev in his last fight, but Bobby Green is such a good striker. You saw in the Alan Patrick fight. Did it really well in that one. The Lando Venata fight outstruck him. The Clay Guida fight outstruck him as well. He was the king of the Apex. If it wasn't for Kevin Holland, he has been killing it right now. And again, Green's been around for a while, fighting in Strikeforce since 2011, the UFC since 2013. His first fight was UFC 156, Aldo Edgar won, and he's been doing pretty well recently. Again, he went on a little bit of a skid, losing to Edson Barbosa, Dustin Poirier, to Dakar Close, and Francisco Trinaldo, among others. But, I mean, those are some very good fighters. And then, of course, coming back, beating Guida, beating Venata, beating Patrick. And then, again, I thought he beat Moises. Go rewatch that fight. I thought that Bobby Green won that one pretty easily. I thought that was a robbery on October 31st, of course, Halloween, Hall, and Silva. But Green and Fiziev. Now, Bobby Green, underrated ground game. He really does have an underrated ground game. But the thing is, it's not like we can completely count out Green on the feet. He's going to have his opportunities to finish Fiziev. And now, I'm not saying that, Bobby Green's going to pour it on Rafael Fiziev and Fiziev isn't going to throw back. No, they're going to trade. And in some exchanges, Bobby Green's going to have a better chance than you think he will have. Like, honestly, okay, Fiziev is the big favorite. He's on a big winning streak, okay, given it's only 3 fights, but the way he looked in the Moicano fight was very impressive. Bobby Green's gonna have his opportunities, and other than Mustafayev, this is Fiziev's toughest challenge, because Green's gonna keep coming. He's gonna keep throwing, and Bobby Green is a tough guy to finish. He is. I mean, the only guys he's been finished by are Dustin Poirier and Tim Means back in King of the Cage in 2010. Tim Means is a guy who doesn't go down. He's going to keep throwing. And Dustin Poirier, hey, he's a fight away from being the world champion. So Fiziev's got his work cut out for him. Obviously, Bobby Green does as well, but do not count Bobby Green out in this fight. Do not count him out because he's gonna throw a lot of volume. He's gonna fight fire with fire in this one. It's gonna be kill or be killed, and I am so pumped for it. So that is Bobby Green, record of 27 wins, 11 losses, and 1 draw. Let's talk about his opponent here, Tiger Muay Thai Zone in Rafael Fiziev. Okay, so Fiziev is one of the better strikers right now in the UFC. I mean, watch the Moicano fight, and no, is Renato Moicano the best striker? Okay, not at all, but the way Fiziev puts it on Moicano in that first round, very impressive. The Mark DeCasey fight, more of the same, very fun fight, because that's the fight that maybe you can look back at the Bobby Green fight, maybe that's somewhat of a reference point at what we're going to get in this fight on Saturday night. Mark DeCasey throws a lot at Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev takes it, he keeps going, and there's that, of course, DeCasey throws a roundhouse at Fiziev. Fiziev, like the Matrix, goes back. I mean, I don't know how he gets out the way, but Fiziev has tremendous head movement, and yeah, this is his fight to win against Bobby Green. I like Bobby Green. I'm a big fan. I think Bobby Green's a very good striker, and I do think Bobby Green, there is a spot for him in the top 15. I'll be honest with you, I think there is, but just a tough matchup for him. Now, if anyone's going to be Fiziev on his way up to the top 10, maybe even the top 5 of the division, it's going to be Bobby Green, though, because Green is going to strike with them, and Green's going to try to hit Rafael Fiziev as hard as he possibly can, and Green will have his moments in this fight. I don't see this being a one-way fight where Fiziev goes in there, he just knocks Bobby Green out cold 2 minutes into the fight. I don't see it that way. I think we see a back-and-forth fight. I think this one will go the distance. I think Fiziev and Green, they win fight of the night, but Fiziev gets the decision 30-27. I think he wins all 3 rounds, but Bobby Green is going to hit him very damn hard. It is going to be a competitive fight. I'd like Rafael Fiziev to win this one, though. The striking, the kicks, insane. The kickboxing that this man has possessed, the Muay Thai that this man does possess. Rafael Fiziev is going to be Bobby Green. It's going to be a fun one, but I got Rafael Fiziev going to win this one by unanimous decision. Starting off the main card, we've got Kenney and Song Yadong. We will start first here with Kenney, his last fight, competitive fight against Dominic Cruz. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't think that fight was going to be as competitive as it really was. Kenney held his own against the greatest bantamweight of all time. Fun fight. Dominic Cruz wins it by split decision. I didn't think it was that close. I thought Cruz won 2-1 pretty easily, but it was a good fight. Kenney really showed how good of a striker he is. Going in there with Dominic Cruz, a guy who maybe in 2 fights could be fighting for the world championship again. So, good performance out of Kenney. Nothing bad came out of that fight against Dominic Cruz. That was an undercard fight, which doesn't make sense to me, but Kenney's stock is only going up after that fight, right? So now he's on a main card against Song Yadong. How he did a main card against Cruz, but he is against Song Yadong, I don't know. It's alright. Kenney before that, tremendous striking performance against Nathaniel Wood. Looks very good in that fight. Wood does a lot of volume at him as well, but Kenney showing how good of a striker he is. And the Altang Ali fight, oh my goodness. Absolutely puts it on Altang Ali. The body kicks by Kenney, absolutely insane in that one. And the Luis Smolka fight showing, hey, he can get it done with the jiu-jitsu as well, submitting Smolka with a guillotine choke in the first round. Woodley Burns in the UFC Apex. Before that, losing to Merab Dvalishvili. Okay, Merab is a guy who, hey, he's getting to fight who? I believe it's Marlon Moraes next. If he beats Marlon Moraes, Merab Dvalishvili is a couple fights away from the world championship, so that's not a bad loss at all either. Before that for Kenney, beating Manny Bermudez, beating Ray Borg outside the UFC, beating guys such as Brandon Royval and Vince Cachero. Kenney has been fighting the best of the best in and out of the UFC, and he's coming to this fight with a record of 16 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Tremendous grappling out of Kenney, and also the striking is so damn good as well. Watch the Altang Ali fight, watch the Nathaniel Wood fight, that's the big one for me. And then also, Dominic Cruz, he stands his own in that fight against one of the greatest of all time. So, there is Kenney. Let's now talk about his opponent in Team Alpha Male's own. It, of course, is Song Yadong, coming off a loss to Kyler Phillips. Not a bad loss. Now, Kyler Phillips just lost to Hellion Paiva, so, but Yadong loses to Kyler Phillips. Not a fight that you're going to be mad about at all. Honestly, good fight. Song Yadong wins a round off of Kyler Phillips. Fun striking fight in that one. Before that for Song Yadong, he beats Marlon Chito Vera. Now, did he win that fight? Probably not, but they gave it to him by unanimous decision. And then before that, did he against Cody Stamann, was that a draw? Maybe not. I think Cody Stamann probably won that one as well. But Song Yadong has been getting pretty lucky with the judges, but he's still a tremendous fighter. Do not get me wrong. Coming to the UFC, picking up a couple big wins, gets a guillotine choke win, gets a TKO as well, and then beats Vince Morales by unanimous decision, and then knocks out AKA Zone and Alejandro Perez KO on UFC 239 in the prelims of that card. Song Yadong, a very good striker. Casey Kenney's a very good striker. I think you know where I'm going with this one. This is going to be a banger on the feet. Both these guys are going to throw a lot of volume. They're gonna go at it. It's a perfect fight to start off the main card. Now, would Bobby Green, Rafael Fiziev be a better fight? I don't know, but okay, nothing against Tisha Torres and Angela Hill, but maybe that fight should have been on the prelims. I'm just saying, but this should be a banger. Yadong, Kenney both throw a lot of volume in their fight. For Song Yadong again, he's coming off that loss against Kyler Phillips, which Phillips a tremendous striker in his own right. That's all right. He beats Marlon Chito Vera, and no matter what you think of that decision, still Song Yadong's holding his own against a very good all-around fighter in Marlon Chito Vera, and the Cody Stamann fight kept that fight on the feet for the rounds that Song Yadong did win. Of course, if he didn't get deducted a point due to that illegal knee in the first round. This is a very tough fight to call, though. I think it's going to be a banger on the feet, just like the fight previously, but if I have to make a pick, I'm going to go with Casey Kenney. I think he beat Song Yadong. I think we see somewhat, I wouldn't say exactly like the Kyler Phillips fight, but where Song Yadong's competitive in this fight, but his opponent just gets the best of him. I think Casey Kenney is going to beat Song Yadong. The body kicks are crucial in this one. Casey Kenney's going to work the body so well in the first couple rounds of this fight, and eventually in the third round, he's just going to tee off. He's going to go head hunting. That's how I see this one going. Kenney uses his kicks so effectively. It sets up his striking. Of course, to the head. I got Casey Kenney winning this one. It's going to be a competitive fight. It's going to be a fun fight, but I think Casey Kenney will get the win over Song Yadong, improving to a record of 17 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Now we've got Angela Hill and Tisha Torres at women's strawweight. Of course, we'll start first here with Angela Hill coming off a win over Ashley Yoder. Now, how impressive is the Ashley Yoder win now? I mean, nothing against Jinyu Fry. Hey, I've picked her in all 4 of her UFC fights so far, but Jinyu Fry's beating Ashley Yoder, and Jinyu Fry's fighting in a weight class where she shouldn't even be in. Jinyu Fry's an atomweight. I mean, it's okay. Again, why the UFC hasn't made an atomweight division, I do not know, but Angela Hill beats Ashley Yoder. She's pretty dominant in that performance. So before that, she fights Michelle Waterson in a fight where a lot of people thought Angela Hill won that fight. She didn't win that fight. Waterson won that 5-round decision. It was a close fight, but I gave the edge to Waterson. Now, the Claudia Gadelha fight against Angela Hill could have gone either way. You got to give the slight edge. Rewatched that fight recently. I give the slight edge to Angela Hill. It is a very close fight, though. And before that, she beats Loma Lukboni over New Zealand, beats Hannah Cifers before that, beats Ariane Carnelossi before that in Mexico City, fights Yang Jun now and beats Jodie Escobar, loses to Randa Marcos, loses to Courtney Casey. I mean, she's fought everyone. Angela Hill been fighting in the UFC all the way back to the Ultimate Fighter season in 2014. This is actually a rematch, though, of Angela Hill's 3rd ever fight in her pro career against Tisha Torres. That was at UFC 188, which was for Doom Velasquez for the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. Tisha Torres got the edge in their first encounter, of course, in UFC 188. That was on the main card of pay-per-view as well. 230-27 for the Tiny Tornado, and then of course 129-28 for Tisha Torres as well. But Angela Hill against Tisha Torres, you're going to see a stand-up fight most likely. Both these fighters are going to try to keep the fight on the feet and stand. If you got to give an advantage to someone on the ground, it's going to be Tisha Torres, but I do anticipate a striking fight between Hill and Torres. Hill is a brawler. She is going to throw a lot. Same with Tisha Torres as well. You can expect some fireworks for this main card fight. Angela Hill, though, again, coming this fight with a record of 13 wins and 9 losses. Her best way to victory, of course, is going to be via the striking realm. Probably the same for Tisha Torres as well, who is coming off her first ever TKO victory. And yeah, for Torres, picking up the TKO win over Sam Hughes. Now, should Sam Hughes... Should she have been in there with Tisha Torres? No, she shouldn't have, but Torres gets the job done by doctor stoppage at the end of the first round. Now, at UFC 256, she was supposed to fight Angela Hill. Hill tested positive for the virus. Try not to get demonetized. I don't know if that's still a thing, but it's all right. Torres ends up fighting Sam Hughes on short notice. She does what she's supposed to do against Sam Hughes, and before that, she beats Brianna Van Buren. Yeah, that was just a tough fight for Brianna. Couldn't get Tisha Torres down, so Torres just proceeded to outstrike Brianna Van Buren in that fight on the Blaze Volkov card, final scorecards for that one. You got 30-27s across the board for Tisha Torres. Before that, she goes on her 4-fight losing streak. And I discussed this earlier. It's against some good fighters. Jessica Andrade champion, Zhang Weili champion, Joanna champion, Marina Rodriguez, not a champion, but she's a couple fights away from the title as well. So some very good fighters Torres is fighting, some tremendous strikers, and there is no shame losing to those four. I mean, before that, she beat Michelle Waterson, beat Juliana Lima, beat Beck Rawlings, and lost to Rose Namajunas, and then beat, some good fighters as well. Beat Rose in their first encounter, beat Felice Herrig, beat Angela Hill in their first fight, and beat bare knuckles own Paige Van Zandt as well. So Torres coming to this fight record of 12 wins and 5 losses. Her and Hill is going to be a pretty fun fight when it is on the feet. I do anticipate it being a striking fight as well, so it should be a fun one. However, though, I'm going to go with Angela Hill. I think she's the better striker right now. And yes, she beat Ashley Yoder, and Yoder just lost to Jinyu Fry, but that's okay. Angela Hill is getting in competitive fights against Michelle Waterson and Claudia Gadelha. Tisha Torres, okay, she beat Sam Hughes, she beat Brianna Van Buren, then she got dominated by Marina Rodriguez, dominated by Zhang Wei Li, dominated by Joanna, dominated by Jessica Andrade. I like Angela Hill in this fight. I think she's the better striker, and that's really all that matters in this one, really. I think Hill outstrikes Tisha Torres for 3 rounds. I think Angela Hill picks up a decision win. I think she wins all 3 rounds in this one. I do see it being somewhat competitive, but I think Hill gets the job done. She wins this one by unanimous decision. Michael Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. Banger at 170 pounds. Gonna start off first here with Michael Chiesa. Coming off the big winning streak over guys such as Carlos Condit, Diego Sanchez, Rafael dos Anjos, and Neil Magny. 4 big wins for Chiesa. Obviously, the Neil Magny fight being in a main event goes 5 rounds with Magny. Beats him, I believe, 4 rounds to 1 in that one. Good performance over in Abu Dhabi. Before that for Chiesa, he actually gets submitted twice in a row. Loses to Anthony Pettis, gets submitted with the triangle armbar. And before that it's the weird stoppage against Kevin Lee. Lee's got the rear naked choke. Is Chiesa out? Is he not? Apparently he wasn't, but Lee was probably going to finish that fight, and Lee was probably going to end up winning that fight, but that's okay. And then also we got sub by Jorge Masvidal. Yeah, on UFC on Fox, Johnson versus Moraga in 2013. Gonna be honest, I forgot that fight even happened. So Chiesa, obviously the former Ultimate Fighter season 15 winner, or I guess not former, he is the winner of that season. What do we know about Michael Chiesa? Obviously, tremendous ground game. The submissions, absolutely incredible. You saw him finish Carlos Condit with that tremendous Kimura at UFC 232. He's always trying to dominate the fight on the ground. The big fight for me with Michael Chiesa was Rafael dos Anjos. And now, was it the most entertaining fight in the world? It wasn't, but he goes in there, he wins 2 rounds against RDA, looks very good in doing so, then gets the Magny fight, dominates Magny on the mat as well. And is Chiesa striking the best? No, it is not, but his ground game is so damn good where he doesn't need his striking to be all that. So he's on a big 4-fight winning streak. Kamaru Usman wants to fight him. I don't know, but if Chiesa can pick up a big win against Vicente Luque, we might be looking at a real top 5 opponent. Now, is he going to get Colby Covington, the fight he's been asking for a very long time? Probably not, because Colby Covington is fighting for a world championship, but still, Chiesa, tremendous fighter. 18-4 is the record for him, obviously trying to get the fight to the mat, but that is a little bit concerning considering how good Vicente Luque is on the ground as well. Let's talk about Luque now in full. But hey man, Luque's got good jiu-jitsu as well. I'm just saying, he's sub Tyrone Woodley. And now, is Luque's jiu-jitsu on the level of Michael Chiesa? Maybe not, but I bring this to you. Michael Chiesa has been submitted by Anthony Pettis and Kevin Lee. Vicente Luque can catch Michael Chiesa in a submission. He can do it. Now, I'm not saying that Luque is the all-around better jiu-jitsu player compared to Chiesa, but there is going to be a moment potentially where Luque is going to have Chiesa in some trouble on the ground. And on the feet, I mean, come on. Vicente Luque is a better striker than Michael Chiesa. I think even Michael Chiesa is going to admit that. But on the ground, yes. Does Chiesa have the advantage? Sure he does. But Luque is going to have his opportunities. The opportunity at one point in this fight is going to present itself. We've seen Chiesa get submitted by Jorge Masvidal, Kevin Lee, and Anthony Pettis. Okay, he's got 4 pro losses. One of them was by KO to Joe Lozon. The other 3 are by submission. So we know Chiesa is so good on the ground. We know his offensive wrestling is good. We know his control time is good as well. You know how he does control the fight well from top. But Luque will have his moments, and the BJJ from Vicente Luque will present somewhat of a challenge to Michael Chiesa. I just think it's somewhat of a tough fight for Chiesa in this one. I think it is, because on the feet, obviously I'm giving the advantage to Luque. We've seen Vicente Luque in the past. We saw him outstrike Tyrone Woodley, and now, was he put into some trouble in that fight? He was. Woodley had Luque stunned more times than you remember. Because we remember that fight with Vicente Luque knocking down Tyrone Woodley, eventually locking in that Darce, I believe it was a Darce, and putting Woodley away. We remember that. We remember Woodley getting rocked, running to the other side of the octagon, eventually falling down. But Woodley went for it in that fight, and that's why I think Woodley's got a shot against Jake Paul, and we'll get to that fight when we get to there. I believe that's in a couple weeks, actually, now. Who knows? But Luque was put in some trouble in that fight. You saw in the Wonder Boy fight, he's put into trouble in that one as well. Same with the Nico Price fight and the Mike Perry fight, which I will be honest, I think Mike Perry beat Luque, but he's not going to be in trouble on the feet against Michael Chiesa. He is not. There is not going to be a problem with Luque striking against Chiesa because Michael Chiesa is not landing one bomb and putting out Luque or dropping Vicente Luque, who is a very hard guy to stun. The only way Michael Chiesa wins this fight is via the ground game and via the submission against Luque. And that's, of course, Michael Chiesa, that's his game. He's going to try to get Luque to the ground. He's going to try to submit him. I just don't think it's going to be, I just don't think it's going to happen for Chiesa in this one. Luque is so good on the feet. He's good on the ground as well. Again, he's good on the ground to the point where Chiesa's not going to be able to dominate him down there. Will Chiesa have the advantage? Sure he will, but it's not going to be to the point where Chiesa's just going to take him down and he's going to do whatever he wants to Luque on the mat. Not gonna happen. I like Vicente Luque to win this fight. I like him on the feet. I like his chances on the ground against Chiesa. Again, Chiesa, I can't stress it enough. He has the advantage, but I like what Luque can present against Chiesa on the mat. I'm gonna take Vicente Luque to win this one. I think he's gonna outstrike Michael Chiesa. I think he's gonna do better than a lot of people might expect him to on the ground, even though Luque has very good BJJ. But I'm gonna go Vicente Luque to beat Michael Chiesa. I think he beats him by decision. Should be an absolute banger of a fight. And again, I know Luque finishes fights, but I think he picks up the decision win. Banger of a fight between Jose Aldo and Pedro Munhoz. Starting off first with Pedro Munhoz. This man is not in a bad fight. He's not in a bad fight. You look at the Jimmy Rivera fight. Absolutely crazy. He wins by unanimous decision, but it's a fun fight at Arusa Strike in Gane in February of this year. And then you go before that, you go to the Frank Yeager fight. I thought Yeager won that one, but it was a close fight. It was a fun 5-round war. Very underrated fight from 2020. And before that, he fights Aljamain Sterling. And besides, okay, people look at Aljamain Sterling now, and I've said this before, but they look at him as kind of a joke. He's the champion because he got kneed in the face while he was down. Okay, Aljamain Sterling still has a win over Pedro Munhoz, and he's got a win over Corey Sandhagen. Like, Aljamain Sterling's still he is a monster, and if he's not the number one bantamweight in the world, he is for sure the number two. So it's not a bad loss at all, losing to Aljo. And before that, for Munhoz, he gets into that crazy fight against Cody Garbrandt, where basically Munhoz and Garbrandt just stand there, they trade rights, and eventually Munhoz drops Garbrandt before Garbrandt drops Munhoz. Pedro Munhoz gets the job done in that one, beats Brian Caraway before that, beats Brett Johns, loses to John Dodson, beats Rob Font by guillotine. That fight, that win just keeps looking better and better, and the rest is history for Munhoz. Before that, Pedro Munhoz career record of 19 wins and 5 losses. We know the tremendous jiu-jitsu. We know the tremendous striking out of Munhoz as well. This man is such a well-balanced fighter. He has never been finished in his entire career. His only losses are by decision. It is tough to put away Munhoz, and Jose Aldo has got his work cut out for him in this fight. So again, Munhoz coming into this one with a record of 19 wins and 5 losses. You look at the Jimmy Rivera fight. The striking was so damn on in that one, and the fight for me is still Cody Garbrandt. Because you go in there, Garbrandt's coming off the 2 losses to TJ Dillashaw. He's still one of the best strikers in the UFC. Munhoz puts an end to it, and say what you want about the game plan from Cody Garbrandt. Was it smart at all to go in there and just leave his chin exposed to Munhoz and just trade right hands? It wasn't, but it just showed you all the power Pedro Munhoz does possess, and with any strike, he can end a fight. So that is Pedro Munhoz. Let's talk about his opponent now, and the former champ, Jose Aldo. And Jose Aldo came back in his last fight. He beats Marlon Vera, and it was, I'm not crapping on Marlon Vera at all, but it was the step down Jose Aldo didn't need. Let's be honest. He's fighting Alexander Volkanovski. He's fighting Marlon Moraes. He's fighting Piotr Jan. Those guys are the top of the weight class. He takes a small step down to Marlon Vera, picks up a win, and now he's back up fighting the elite of the division in Pedro Munhoz. I like this move. I do. I think this is a smart fight for Jose Aldo. Now, would I have wanted the Garbrandt fight? Maybe, but I'm fine with this one. Aldo still showed in the Marlon Vera fight he can still strike. He can. And, okay, yes, in the Piotr Jan fight. People remember that fight for the ending that it did have, where Aldo was just getting dominated on the ground, but don't forget how competitive and how close that fight really was. Aldo was striking with Piotr Jan, and he was competing with Jan. It was a close fight. Aldo going to the leg kicks, looked very good in that one, and eventually Jan got to him in the 5th round, but Jose Aldo was holding his own in that championship fight. Now, the Marlon Moraes fight, don't get me started. Jose Aldo won that fight, and before that, the Volkanovski fight, okay, just ran into the wrong guy at the wrong time. Alexander Volkanovski is the champion for a reason. So Jose Aldo Jr. for sure is still one of the top fighters in the world. I mean, look at his losses. His losses are Conor McGregor. Maybe, I mean, I wouldn't call Conor the GOAT at 145, but 145 Conor maybe never gets beat if he stays at 145. I don't know. Max Holloway maybe is the 145-pound GOAT if it's not Jose Aldo. Alexander Volkanovski's the current champion. Marlon Moraes was a fight that Jose Aldo won, and also Moraes is a former title challenger at 155, and Piotr Jan's a former champion at 135. Jose Aldo is still fighting the best of the best in the world. He's 29-7 in his career. It's not like he's fighting nobodies. He's beating guys such as Edgar, Jeremy Stevens, Nato Moicano, Marlon Vera. He's beating the Zombie. He's beating Ricardo Lamas. He's beating Chad Mendes. He's beating Kenny Florian. He's beating Mark Hominick. He's beating Uriah Faber. He's beating the best in the world. Jose Aldo's still one of the best. But Pedro Munhoz, man. Munhoz is a monster in his own right. This is going to be a striking war. I'm going to give a slight advantage, though, and the slight advantage and the win to Pedro Munhoz. Yeah, might be a shocking pick, but I think Munhoz, at this point in both guys' career, I think Munhoz is the better striker. I think he's the better fighter. And don't get me wrong, it seems like Jose Aldo is old as hell. Jose Aldo, believe it or not, is only 34 years old. Pedro Munhoz is 34 as well, but just with MMA history and just honestly both these guys just wear and tear on their bodies in the ring. Okay, Aldo's fought 11 more fights than Munhoz in their pro careers. I think Pedro Munhoz, just octagon wise, the younger fighter, I think he's got a better chin at this point. I think Pedro Munhoz beats Jose Aldo. I don't think he finishes them. I think we see a competitive 3-round war, but I think Munhoz gets it done by decision. It is time for the main event of the evening. It is for the interim heavyweight championship of the world. The winner should be fighting Ngannou, who knows, but it is for the interim championship. It is between Bon Gane, Ciryl Gane. He is perfect in his MMA career, and he's taking on the Black Beast in Derrick Lewis. Starting first with Bon Gane, Ciryl Gane. He is 9-0. You look at the Volkov fight, he is tremendous in that one. Picks his shots at the right time. 50-45 on 2 cards, 149-46. Ciryl Gane is almost perfect in that fight. You look at the Biggie Boy fight, almost perfect as well. Same game plan, staying on the outside, never getting in too much trouble, and just dominating Rosenstruck for 5 rounds. He dominated Volkov for 5 rounds. Gane's been in the octagon for 50 minutes so far in this year, and he's looked dominant in all 50 minutes, right? The JDS fight, more of the same. Second round, hits him kind of in the back of the head with the elbow, but finishes JDS. Before that, beats Bozer, beats Dontel Mays by heel hook, and before that, beats Rafael Pessoa by arm triangle as well. We know how good of a Muay Thai game Ciryl Gane does have. We know how good the kickboxing is. And I keep mentioning it every time he's about to fight. Don't forget how good of a ground game he does have as well. I don't think we get there with this fight with Lewis, though. I think seeing what we've seen out of Gane in his last 3 fights, I don't think he tries to take down Derrick Lewis. I don't think that's where they're going to go in this one. I think Gane's going to try to stay on the outside. I think he's going to try to outwork Derrick Lewis. I think he's going to try to tire Derrick Lewis. I think he's going to try to win this one by decision or try to finish him late in this fight. I think that's where we go in this one, right? Because I don't think Gane's looking to take Derrick Lewis down, because believe it or not, Derrick Lewis recently low-key underrated takedown defense game. Like, low-key underrated. Like, I know he got taken down by Daniel Cormier and got submitted, but honestly, Lewis isn't as bad with his takedown defense as you do think. So I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park or anything for Gane trying to take down Derrick Lewis. And Derrick Lewis is a big guy as well. So for Ciryl Gane, the game plan is pretty simple. You stay on the outside, you pick your shots, you beat Derrick Lewis that way, you never get yourself into too much trouble. That's so much easier said than done, though, because Derrick Lewis, every time he seems like he's out of a fight, can always land that one bomb and end the fight. Big example of the Curtis Blades fight. And now, Ciryl Gane, he has to be perfect for me in this one for 25 minutes. You can never put yourself into too much danger against a guy like Derrick Lewis, because Lewis, at any point in a fight, can land that one strike. Gane's got to always be on top of his game. He's always going to have to be perfect in this one. There's a reason he's such a big favorite, though, in this one, because he's never been in trouble so far in the octagon. There's never been a moment where JDS didn't stun him, Bozer didn't stun him, Biggie Boy didn't stun him, Volkov didn't stun him. Gane's been that perfect. He uses the jab so effectively. He uses his kicks so well as well. The man is the perfect example of just one of the best technical strikers you are going to ever see. He's 9-0 for a reason. The Muay Thai background is there, and when he does need it, his ground game is so damn good as well. That's how good Ciryl Gane is. Just such an amazing technical fighter. The Volkov fight really showed to me. I picked Volkov, I'll be honest with you. But the Volkov fight showed me how good Ciryl Gane is. And is it the most entertaining style? No, it is not. but Gane's striking is so damn good. So that's Ciryl Gane. He's 9-0, undefeated, looking for a world title in his 10th fight. But let's talk about the Black Beast, Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis, man. I mean, whenever you think he's out of the fight, he always comes back and gets the job done. The Curse Blades fight didn't start well. Curse Blades wins the first round. He's on his way to winning the second round as well. Goes for a takedown. Boom, uppercut. Fight over. Now, I don't think Ciryl Gane is going to be shooting blast doubles in this fight, or power doubles in this fight. I don't think it's going to be happening, but it's always there. The power Derrick Lewis has is so insane. That's why, again, I was so excited for Derrick Lewis, Francis Ngannou. Now, Derrick Lewis has got to get past Ciryl Gane in this one. I don't know, man. I mean, I could go through and I could break down all the Derrick Lewis fights. I mean, the Alexei Oleinik fight, he's losing in the first round. The second round, he just goes for it, puts out Oleinik. The Latifi fight's closer than you might want it to be, but he wins that one. The Blagoy fight, he wins as well. I mean, the DC fight and the JDS fight, I don't really consider any Derrick Lewis fights before the Blagoy-Ivanov fight. Because to me, I don't think Derrick Lewis was taking it seriously before then. I think we are seeing a serious Derrick Lewis. And say what you want. What Derrick Lewis is saying, how, you know, I mean, the heavyweight division should be ashamed if a guy with literally zero skill wins the world championship. Derrick Lewis knows what he's doing. He overplays the, I don't really train. I'm not really an MMA fighter. I don't do training camps. I just show up and I fight. Derrick Lewis knows what he's doing. He does. This guy is one of the best mixed martial artists on the planet for a reason. And is it just because of the boxing? Yeah, it is. Because not many men on this planet have more power in their hands than Derrick Lewis does. The Curtis Blades fight, he put Curtis Blades out cold for a very long time. That uppercut was so nasty. And Lewis, okay, the way I said it earlier, Ciryl Gane has to be perfect for 25 minutes in this fight. Derrick Lewis has to be perfect for 1 second. Right? I think Derrick Lewis is going to beat Ciryl Gane. I'll say it right now. I think he beat Ciryl Gane. And I'm going to put something on the screen right now. So, in Bongame's last fight against Alexander Volkov, he throws that big right hand that you're seeing right now. He throws that big right against Volkov. He misses it. He doesn't connect. He does not land against Alexander Volkov. Then this happens, right? Volkov hits him with a pretty nice uppercut. It barely hits Gane, doesn't put him out. But my big point in this one is, if Gane throws that exact same overhand right and he misses against Derrick Lewis, if he puts himself in any little bit of trouble, Derrick Lewis is getting, that's a check right hook for Derrick Lewis all day, or an uppercut, and that fight's over. Derrick Lewis is putting out Bongame with that strike. That's so important to me. I think Ciryl Gane's such a good technical striker. I think he's such a good striker, staying on the outside, not getting himself into too much trouble. But you have to be perfect against Derrick Lewis, and Derrick Lewis only has to be perfect for 1 strike. Right? This is how this fight goes, right? Because I think Gane could eventually finish Derrick Lewis. I think he could. If he works the body pretty well, uses his leg kicks, yeah, maybe he does finish Derrick Lewis. It's going to take a while. I'm going to say 4th or 5th round, because Gane's not knocking anyone out with 1 punch. At least, probably not. I know we finished JDS with an elbow, but still. I think Lewis is going to get the job done, just because I think in a 25-minute fight, I think Lewis eventually knocks him out. I picked Derrick Lewis to beat Curtis Blades for that exact reason. Because my reasoning for that fight was, well, Curtis Blades got to take him down 5 times. And any point in this fight, there could be 2 seconds left. Derrick Lewis lands a big overhand right, like he did against Alexander Volkov, and he ends the night. Right? I think we see somewhat of a repeat of Volkov-Lewis. And I think eventually Derrick Lewis will put an end to the Ciryl Gane title hopes for now. And I think he makes Ciryl Gane 9-1 in his pro career. And I think Gane's very good. But you just can't make a single mistake against Derrick Lewis. And obviously, I think they're going to be working on this. I don't think they're going to be throwing an overhand right where there's the potential of Derrick Lewis just landing 1 uppercut ending the night against Gane. I think the Gane camp's going to be working on this, but you have to be so damn good for 25 minutes. I think Derrick Lewis eventually is going to catch Ciryl Gane. And I think Derrick Lewis becomes the interim heavyweight champion in the world. And oh my goodness, give me Derrick Lewis and Francis Ngannou. Bombs only in that one. That's going to be a banger. So I'm pumped for that one if we do get it next. Gane and Ngannou is a fun fight as well. Former training partners over there in France. I would be pumped for that fight as well, but please give me Derrick Lewis and give me Francis Ngannou. That would be a banger in the rematch. Even though their first fight was god-awful, I think the rematch would be a lot better. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I think Derrick Lewis gets the job done against Ciryl Gane. If you want to see a longer video with me just talking about Gane and Lewis, I could make another one tomorrow just why I'm picking Derrick Lewis to beat Ciryl Gane. I'm thinking about doing that as well, throwing more screenshots of each one of their 2 fights, or just honestly, more screenshots of their previous fights into just like a 10-minute video like I did with Bellator with Pitbull and AJ McKee. I might do that. Just be on the lookout for that one going up tomorrow. Maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't. But again, I'm going with Derrick Lewis. I think he eventually lands the big bomb against Gane. I think he finishes them. I'm going to go 3rd round knockout for Derrick Lewis. And going into that 3rd round, I think Gane's going to be dominating. I think Gane's winning those first 10 minutes, but eventually makes that one mistake. Maybe throws that big overhand right. Misses. Check right by Lewis. Finishes the night in Houston, nothing less. He's got his hometown crowd behind him. And I think Derrick Lewis becomes the interim heavyweight champion of the world. So folks, thank y'all for watching my UFC 265 preview and predictions here on the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you have not yet. We do one of these every single week, and we're backing the Black Beast this weekend. So folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you have not yet. Again, folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.